Story time on how my mom tried to convince me to have a threesome with her. So I had just graduated high school, and my mom was single for a while. Then she started dating this guy, which me and my brother really liked, but he was a few years younger than my mom. And honestly, we were happy for her. She was very depressed and miserable with my dad, so we were okay with it because she was finally happy. So like I said, I had just graduated high school, and I always said I never wanted to go to college, so I started working retail. One day while I was at work, my mom called me and said, "Hey, let's go out shopping." And who am I to say no? So after I got out of work, I met my mom and we went lingerie shopping. That's what she specifically wanted to get. So we were at the store and the first thing she said was, "Let's get matching sets," which was weird coming from my mom, but I said, "Fine, come back for part 2.
Am I the asshole for inviting my girlfriend on an expensive vacation and expecting her to pay all of her share? My girlfriend and I, my parents, my brother and his wife all went on vacation in another country a week ago. My girlfriend knew this trip was coming up and took on a second job waitressing on the weekends for several months to get ready for it. My brother and I were the ones who did most of the planning of the itinerary, although we did ask everyone else for input. For background, I make around $150,000 as an IT consultant. My girlfriend is a teacher making around $45,000. My parents are pretty affluent, as well as my brother and sister-in-law. We have always split things 50-50 in the 2 years we have been together. There were a few times on the vacation where she did not go on the outings with us, wine tasting, scuba diving, etc. She also would only eat 2 meals a day, stating simply that she was on a budget. My family does favor more high-end, expensive places. My parents thought it was very strange that she only eats 2 meals a day, although she normally eats 3. I mentioned how I heard her stomach growling one night and said I was concerned about her having an eating disorder. When we got back home, I asked her why she skipped out on several of the outings and only ate 2 meals a day. She got teary-eyed.
You see, my elementary school was crazy. We used to play this game called booty tag. Booty tag consisted of grabbing booty. There was none of that tag, you're it. The goal was to keep your booty safe and not get caught. Contrary to popular belief, this game was for the girls. You see, in elementary school, all the boys thought that girls had cooties. So if you were a boy and you got tagged by a girl on the booty, nobody was gonna mess with you because you have cooties. So the whole playground was just girls going crazy, grabbing booty. I remember one time this kid named MJ fell on the ground and they just started kicking his booty. He couldn't walk for the rest of the day. Since I was really fat, I couldn't run away when they were trying to tag me. So I ended up becoming really good friends with this girl named Sierra. She was my only friend because I had cooties since I got tagged. Now me and Sierra became really close. Like we was 8 or 9 years old sharing trauma stories. One day she asked me, "Yo, do you want to see something?" Alright, so here's part 2 on how I got suspended in elementary school. So Sierra looks at me and she asks me, "Yo, do you want to see something?" I'm like, "Yeah, show me." She says, "Look under the table." She literally pulls her pants down and she shows me her you-know-what. And it literally just became a thing we do every day. The girls at the table would look out for the teacher. I would stick my head under the table and take a peek. So everything was going smoothly. Then boom, Jerry hit. Now Jerry was another loser just like me. He used to get tagged all the time and booty tagged. So naturally, me and him became really good friends. What I loved about Jerry is that he always had my back on the playground. If anybody tried to mess with me, Jerry would have been there to knock you out. So I tell Jerry about the Sierra situation and he says that he wants to see. So randomly one day he just sits at my table and he takes a peek with me. Things get crazy after that because Jerry stands up and looks at the girl and asks them if they want to see something. Alright, I'm going to be posting part 3 really soon, but if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram, like my picture.
Am I the asshole for telling the truth at my best friend's wedding during my toast? I'm a 30-year-old male and my best friend got married last week. I just bought a house and my wife is expecting our son in November, so I let him know I was limited in what I could contribute financially. But I did tell him I would try my best. So I went to the bachelor party in Miami, I rented the tux, and paid for mine and my wife's dinner at the rehearsal dinner. I also had a gift of $300 that I was going to give them, but we will get to why I didn't. His fiancé at the time would text me multiple times a day with updates. Fine. I didn't always respond and it got to the point where if I didn't respond at least once a day, I'd get a call from my buddy. She texted me for the following reasons. 1. My wife was not allowed to talk about our pregnancy at all. She didn't want anyone to focus on that more than her, the bride. 2. She was not going to order any special food for my wife. No one asked her to. My wife was fine with whatever she was going to be served. 3. I was not helping the groom enough. He had to help her with favors, seating charts, and programs, so I had to help him with those things according to her. 4. She said if I was a true best man, I would.
What's one really bad thing you did as a child that you kept secret for your entire life and didn't tell nobody? I'll go first. I got a lot of stories like this, but this is just one of them. So my mama used to put me in daycare, and in my daycare we used to do field trips, and we went to the YMCA. So while we were in the pool, this one white kid comes up to me and he asked me, like, why are you black? And I was kind of embarrassed, but I wasn't mad at the kid. I was more embarrassed than I was mad. And I told him that my parents painted me every single day. And I was thinking back at the time when I scraped my knee and the skin came off and there was like no blood. It was just bone. But I didn't know that it was bone. I thought that I was just white underneath. So I was like, it's true. Like I can peel my skin off and prove it. When I did that, I peeled skin off my finger and it was a lot of skin and I started bleeding really bad. So the water started getting wet and the daycare people tried to get everybody out the water like there was something going on. And then once everybody was out of the water, one of the daycare people go, I'm so sorry, everybody. I lost my tampon. I need to find it. Okay, so what happened was pretty self-explanatory, but I can make a...
Honestly, I am so embarrassed to be telling this story, and if you're a makeup artist, don't come for me, please. One time I had a client who was a friend of a family member who reached out to me just a couple of days before the dance asking me if I could do her daughter's homecoming makeup. Let me just point out that at this time, I had already graduated high school and I'd been out for a minute. So it had been a while since I had done somebody's prom or homecoming makeup. I had mostly moved on to doing photo shoots, some weddings, or just coming up with crazy looks to do on myself for fun. So when I asked what type of look she wanted, she sent me a look from Pinterest that I had literally seen the exact reference photo for probably like 50 times. I was like, great, this is going to be super easy, nothing to worry about here. So I was like, sure, I'll do it. So on the day of the dance, I go over to my client's house. One of the first things I do whenever I do someone's makeup is make sure that I have a foundation and concealer shade that will match their skin tone. And this girl was abnormally pale. She was absolutely beautiful and her skin literally reminded me of porcelain, like a porcelain doll. But even my lightest foundation and concealer shades were too dark for her skin. If you've ever done anyone's makeup, even a friend, you know that it is so embarrassing to not be able to match their skin tone. Luckily though, I was used to having to come up with very creative solutions to very sticky situations. Like I said before, I was doing this girl's makeup for her homecoming dance, and homecoming is usually in the fall, and this one was right around Halloween. So I did happen to have some face paint in my makeup kit. And here's where the first really embarrassing thing happened. I didn't know what else to do, so I literally took white face paint and mixed it with my foundation to create a perfect match for her skin tone. It did work and it looked really good on her skin. So after I used this face paint foundation mixture to put all over her face, I go in and I start doing the eye look. This was also during COVID, so I was wearing a face mask. And as I progressed through her eye look, it started getting really difficult for me to breathe. At first, obviously, I thought it was because At first, obviously, I thought it was because of the mask and it was probably just hot in the room that we were in. But after about 20 minutes, it started getting really difficult and I was honestly getting so uncomfortable. I couldn't figure out why. I literally couldn't breathe. Also, I'm not one of those people who can't breathe if they get nervous or anything like that. I have a completely different reaction. I decided not to say anything because, I mean, what am I going to say to a 16-year-old girl whose parents aren't home? And quite honestly, I just didn't want to scare her. I finish her entire look, she pays me, everything looks great. And as I'm walking out of her house, I see the 3 cats sitting in her living room. Fun fact about me, I'm extremely allergic to cats. And when I got in my car and took off my mask, my entire face was swollen. That explained why I couldn't breathe. And I was quite honestly embarrassed because that means that my eyes had been swollen the entire time I was standing there talking to her. Everything turned out fine though. I took a Benadryl when I got home and her makeup looked amazing.
Am I the asshole for giving my soon-to-be ex-husband an ultimatum in regards to custody? Look, I know the title already sounds bad, but hear me out. A little background. Me, 32 female, and my husband, 32 male, are currently separated and currently work in different cities. He's in New York and I'm in Massachusetts. We have 2 kids together, an 8-year-old boy and 5-year-old girl. Some of my family has a mild to extreme allergy to cannabis. Both of my kids are allergic, but my son's is anaphylactic severe, medically tested. My husband and his new girlfriend are staying together because she lost her job and apartment. I am pregnant. It happened pre-separation and I found out after. So what happened is that my husband has a new girlfriend, 28-year-old female, and she's a long-time stoner. He has explained our kids' allergies to her and how she can't smoke when the kids are with him. After arguing, she decided that when the kids are with him, she'll stick to edibles, so it's less likely they'll breathe it in. The only thing is, she believes that we are making up the weed allergy. She's extremely convinced that I'm anti-weed and I'm trying to convince my kids that they are allergic so that they never try it. A couple of weeks back, the kids were at his house and he was at work, so his girlfriend was watching them.
I'm a 32-year-old woman who can never go back to my new dentist after 2 visits because I'm an idiot. My dentist is a very nice and professional man. Our first appointment was going pretty smoothly until he made some innocuous remark about us being strangers. My immediate reply was, "Oh, you're not a stranger. You've been inside of my mouth for 20 minutes." I did not intend to make a joke. His face turned red, and he was clearly embarrassed, but continued on like a true professional. And we were probably both relieved when the appointment was over. I had my second dentist appointment today. I actually mentally prepared myself to be a model patient who didn't say anything weird. He had been working in my mouth for about 5 minutes when he started to seem really uncomfortable or something. His face was red, and he was breathing a little heavier. I was a bit concerned and also confused. Like, how could I have embarrassed him this time? I had hardly spoken. So he keeps working in there, and then I realize what the hell is happening. My dentist was wearing grape-flavored gloves. I had been absent-mindedly licking his fingers the whole time.
Awkward.
No. But why was he breathing heavier?
This just might be the craziest spring break story you've ever heard. Me and 14 of my friends decided to go to Cabo for spring break when we were in college. We rented an Airbnb and thought everything was going to be so much fun. But on the first night, there was already a couple of my friends that were too tired to go out, so we just decided to split up. Half of my friends stayed at the house and half of us went out to a bar. The bar we ended up going to was right on the water, and as we're sitting there eating our food, a yacht pulls up. And I don't mean like a small yacht, I mean like a huge party yacht. There was little dinghy boats bringing people to and from the yacht. My friend that spoke Spanish went over and started talking to one of the boat taxi drivers. He said that if we wanted to, we could all jump on his boat and he would take us out to the yacht. Since it was spring break, of course I couldn't pass up on this opportunity, so I started running towards his boat to jump on because he was screaming for us to hurry. I was in such a hurry to make sure that I got on that boat, I didn't even look back to see if my friends were behind me. By the time that I realized none of my friends had come with me, I was already halfway to the yacht.